We are doing Extra Life again this year, where you can mash buttons, roll dice, play games, and help kids along the way. I hope you'll be a part of that with us. Stick around after the video for more information. Alright, well, my editing skills are crap, but can the same thing be said about Dragon's Dogma, the series premiere, episodes 1 through 3 on Netflix? Stick around and find out. Bum, ba, ba, bum, dum, dum. Hey, I'm Peter Franson from christiangeekcentral.com and Spirit Blade Productions. This is my uncut review of the Netflix series premiere for Dragon's Dogma, looking at episodes 1, 2, and 3. The synopsis on IMDb reads, Ethan sets out to vanquish the dragon that took his heart, but with every demon he battles, he loses more of his humanity. I'd be interested in that kind of through line. I'm not seeing that in the first 3 episodes of him battling demons in each episode and losing more of his humanity. This is more, it feels much more standalone episodes. The first episode sets up the premise of this big tragedy that he endures. He discovers that he is this kind of person called an Arisen, and he sets out, highly motivated after the events of the first episode, to go and kill this dragon. It's fantasy anime with a dead, serious, and very dark tone, which is something I really appreciate because I just can't stomach anime humor, and so the rare anime that is totally serious really gets my attention. Let's see here. Ethan is basically accompanied by this mysterious person who shows up referring to herself as a pawn, and she's there to serve him and accompany him on his quest to go and kill the dragon. He feels responsible to, along the way, help anyone that's in trouble because he feels like he failed to protect his family in the first episode. Each episode is named after one of the 7 deadly sins, the first 3 episodes covering wrath, gluttony, and envy. There's plenty of anime action, brutal, stylized, gory, bloody, that kind of stuff. So if you're into that, I think this is going to deliver. It's focused on killing monsters, and monsters of both humanoid and, giant size. But there's also a focus on moral dilemmas, which are also handled, I think, with a degree of complexity. Those in the episodes so far that I've seen who are set up as antagonists ultimately aren't much worse than the ones that they victimize. And so each episode has ended with a feeling like, oh, well, the person being victimized wasn't that great either. In fact, yikes. So, it's certainly a show that so far recognizes the mess and brokenness of humanity. It takes plenty of inspiration from the game that it's based on, Dragon's Dogma, of which I've played about maybe 10 or 15 hours. It, again, has this not quite human pawn character, which you have also in the game, that's accompanying him, serving him. But I played as a mage in my time with Dragon's Dogma, and I wish that there was more magic, or a magic user companion, a magic user pawn, or something like that in these opening episodes. One thing that I really love is more stories that use that old school Dungeons and Dragons party aesthetic, where you've got like a wizard and a rogue and a fighter and stuff like that. I like those kind of rounded party type adventuring fantasy stories, and they're less common than you might think. Well, just fantasy movies and series in general are less common than I would like. There was some magic. His pawn uses some magic to assist him to like light up his sword and make it on fire. And she has she's used magic with her arrows before. But I guess I just wanted a freaking spellcaster. That's just the magic using geek side of me. As far as the performances go, the voice acting feels fairly anime in style. I've seen some other animated series. I think what I saw of Castlevania, if memory serves, would be an example of something that's clearly produced in the Eastern style and probably by an Eastern studio, but with voice acting that doesn't necessarily sound like those awkward dubs almost universally do, as those kinds of entertainment are brought over to Western audiences. This one, I'm thinking it was made for a Western audience. I'm thinking that's primarily who Netflix had in mind, at least as their first audience. But the voice acting style sounds in many respects like a lot of those quote-unquote bad dubs. But I think anime fans who are accustomed to that, who maybe even see that as an endearing part of the style, are not going to feel put off. But if you are like me and you are put off in general by almost every anime acting dub, then I think you're probably going to be put off by a number of things here. It's not as grating on my nerves as many others, and part of that is because of the serious tone that they're going for. But still, the voice acting was a turnoff for me. As far as the visuals go, it's classic cell animation. At least that's what it's designed to look like. There's clearly a lot of computer work going on behind the scenes, and the large monsters that they fight seem to be simulated cell animation, but actually CG characters. They do blend in fairly well, but they still, to my eye, look and move out of place compared to other characters. But it's high-quality animation on par with the well-received Castlevania Netflix series. As far as themes, is there anything of moral, philosophical, or spiritual significance going on in the themes of this thing that might trigger some worthwhile thought or conversation? Well, with each episode named after a deadly sin, they do seem to be going for some kind of moral examination with each episode, and so far are allowing for some interesting and welcome moral complexity as they do that. But gratuitous sexualized nudity in the third episode serves to objectify one of the only human female characters. It was a major turnoff for me. It just seemed to be appealing to the most base instincts in men in particular, and that, along with the style of voice acting, killed my interest in continuing with this series. I'm thinking to myself, if that much female objectification is in the episode about envy, I have no interest in watching the one about lust. Now, I have no idea what your tastes are in anime and TV shows, but if I were a time traveler, I'd go back in time and say, Peter, yes, skip this one. Don't get your hopes up that, like, oh my gosh, here's finally another fantasy series that's coming out. Looks like it's inspired visually by that D&D aesthetic. It's based on a game that you've enjoyed at least some of, if not enough to get you to finish the game off. But don't let that entice you in. Instead, just give 1 to 4 hours to playing more of Dragon's Dogma instead. You're going to have a much better time with that. It's great to see animated fantasy being made, but the execution is a far cry from what you want. It's rated TVMA, and the only descriptions when you are watching on Netflix that pop up next to that rating are sex and nudity, and that didn't show up until the third episode. The first 2 episodes really didn't have any of that kind of content. I would say largely the show so far, what I've seen in the first 3 episodes, has the MA rating for violence primarily, and then also some language, but then it definitely gets into some gratuitous nudity in episode 3, so who knows what the rest will do. Those are my thoughts, though. I'd love to get yours in the comments below. Please like, share, subscribe, click that notification bell. Anything you want to do to stay connected to this content or share it with other people, I would really, really be grateful for. And then, of course, I hope you'll join us soon over at christiangeekcentral.com as we continue to geek out and seek the truth. It is time for Extra Life again, and I'd love for you to be a part of it with me. Here's a recycled but slightly modified promo to tell you more. Once again this year, Christian Geek Central is participating in Extra Life. This is a charity that raises funds for the Children's Miracle Network of hospitals, which provides free medical care to children whose families could otherwise not afford it. And this is very often for critical, life-saving treatment. Joining our team only requires a willingness to ask your family and friends to consider donating toward your fundraising efforts. Participants also usually do something fun and game-related to draw attention to their fundraising efforts, like a special game night at your home or your church, or like me, you could do a crazy 24-hour video gaming marathon. Now, I'm theming it around video games, but really this event can be themed around any kind of gaming, which includes both video games and tabletop games of any kind. What you do to raise funds is entirely up to you, but I would love for you to consider joining the Christian Geek Central Extra Life team. As team leader, I'll be there to help answer your questions, provide some helpful tips if I can, and just in general be your fundraising cheerleader and try to draw attention myself to your fundraising efforts. You can get more information about the event as a whole at extra-life.org. And if you choose to sign up there, be sure to select Christian Geek Central as your team so I can get in touch with you and then just help in whatever way I can. Fundraising can begin at any time, but our main push is going to be through the month of October, leading up to November 7th. That's the annual Extra Life Game Day, when I'll be streaming my 24-hour video gaming marathon live and trying to stay awake without throwing up. More details on my live stream as we get closer to it. That's it for now. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.